Today on Grace in the Grind, I have Michael Faber, founder of Unleash You Now, a mentor of mine. I'm so grateful that he has wanted to come on the podcast to share and let's have this great conversation. Welcome today, Michael.
What's up, brother? Thanks for having me, man. It's an honor. I was excited when you asked. I was hoping that I would get an invite to be here with you.
Of course you would. Of course you would. You're doing incredible things. And we just finished
Thanks,
the
brother.
Unleash You Now 2024, and all sorts of great things are happening. Uh, First and foremost, you do a lot, honestly. I was actually surprised hearing a lot of the stuff you do with your focus being movement makers and things like that, Unleash You. Tell the audience and let us know from your point of view, what is it that you do? And then how are you like really making impact out there?
What I do is I really go around and just find dope souls and I try to bring them in together. In a roundabout way. That's what we do. Our big thing is to create massive impact, right? Like we say we want to impact 1 billion people. A bunch of people say that. We got more finite on it. We want to impact 1 billion people because we believe that if we can impact 1 billion people's ripple effect will then lead to as many people as on the earth, right? Because they say for each one is 10. That would make 10 billion, which is now there's that's more than people on earth. So we'd be able to impact everyone's life, raise their energy closer to the vibration of love. And that means that they would be taken away from self-induced behavior and suicide, which our ultimate goal is to end that. But we do that through helping those that empower others, right? So we empower those that are empowering other people. We impact the impactors, right? And some of the things we learned along the way in business, because that's what was originally the area in which we were in, is movement-based businesses last longer, create greater impact, and create greater income than product-based businesses. So we do show people how to do that. And also we have a community known as the family. Some people refer to it as a mastermind of just amazing souls doing amazing things on earth. Some of the best people I've ever encountered all together. And that's really what I absolutely love. I help people with messaging, crafting messaging that sells and bring people closer to you.
Awesome. And I will say, as a member of the family, it is definitely a amazing group of people. I'm very excited to be part. Let's start diving into some of this. One of the things is creating movements versus product based. What does it really mean to like creative movement? Because I know there's a lot of people that talk about making impact, but you really do that in the terms of movement. What does that look like?
Right. Well, the movement is for a greater cause and a futuristic goal. So I think to have a movement, a true movement, there has to be a futuristic goal and something for the greater good. What's funny is if you do some research, every president for the last like 100 plus years, they had only two things in common. The one that won for all but like two of them was they had a futuristic slogan, right? And they spoke at a lower education level than the people they were running against, right? Which
It's
meant
fascinating.
which meant there was something we could rally behind and be like, yes, we want that. Let's go. And they were easier to understand. And that meant more people can comprehend. And that meant more people can either agree or disagree. And that was the only two things supposedly they had in common that research showed. So movement, people want to be part of something that's bigger than them.
Mhm.
A movement is people can feel part and connected to a movement. People want to support that. When it's a product, it's only if this thing serves me, then I want it. If it doesn't serve me, I don't want it. If it's a movement, it's not some movements aren't even about me, but I want to help. I want to support. I want to be part.
Right.
Right. And so when you do that, you're creating the opportunity for people to join you
Mhm.
rather than buy from you.
I think that's powerful. Like that statement alone, I do hashtags wisdom bomb all the time. And I think that would be one I would pull out, create something for people to join you. And I think that's super powerful. So then that brings some other questions here as I take notes and think about some of this. How did you come to the place of saying, hey, I want to devote my life to creating movements? How did that come about for you?
Became a suicidal maniac and disappeared. Right. 2011, suicide has been near and dear in my life multiple times. My brother took his life. He's one of the 22 that served the country and took his own life in 1992. In 2011, one of my best friends, Matt Carter, took his own life. Just self-induced behavior and suicide. His brother did 3 months later. So there's numerous times this has impacted my life. But when my boy Matt Carter passed, it really hit me because I created this whole like false bravado, right? This image that I thought I was, not to the world or maybe to them too, but to myself. Right. And when this all happened, that kind of shattered.
Mm,
And no longer did I have to deal with that. I had to deal with everything I stuffed down in my life, which was pretty much everything because I was came from the world where men, we were not hurt. We might be angry, but we were not hurt. Right.
right.
So I spent most of my life just angry and never dealing with anything that hurt me. So it all erupted. I became, like I said, a suicidal maniac. I was into pills and different drugs and booze and on Lewis Beach with a gun in my mouth. My gun wouldn't go off. And I heard after that, I heard a personal growth tape where the guy said, "You're out there somewhere. You just need to go find yourself." And I was
Mm,
like, "Oh my God, I'm out there." Right. Michael Faber.
right.
Yeah, so I started looking behind every tree and in every bush and under every rock. Like this literally had like a missing person report for me. So it was a good time. Ended up in Mobile, Alabama, which I'm sure there's some really nice parts. I just wasn't it. And I remembered something a basketball coach once told me. He said, "Did anyone breathe easier because you exist?" And for 30 years of my life, the answer was no. And I started thinking about all the people I lost in my life. I couldn't tell you a single one of them what their bank account was when they died, right? Or their worth. And I was like, if I die, like I've done nothing. Sure. At that point, like we had some successful businesses, did some great deals, made some money. I did nice cars and big houses, all that good shit. That mean
Right.
nothing. I think it really made me go, I need to do something bigger than myself. I need to help people. That's where the whole movement idea came from. We started. I didn't know what it was then, but that's how it all started. And I understood in business that how businesses run. So I was like, well, hold up, this and this connects. So we can. So then it was the movement thinking.
Dude, that's powerful, and I relate to a lot of that with the emotion stuffing and stuff like that because that's something
Mhm.
I'm actually dealing with, and so, with that awakening, with that breakthrough of, "Hey, I wanna be able to make an impact, I wanna invite others, I wanna help people, I have to deal with these emotions," things like that. Do
Mhm.
you find that in the hundreds, if not thousands of people that you've impacted already that you still struggle with some of those old emotions, or have you conquered most of them? Like, where are you in that journey?
I don't know if you ever truly conquer them. I don't know. I think like when it comes to healing, that's why I always shy away from the healing conversation because I disagree with a lot of healers. And I feel like they know better than me. So I'm like, ah.
I
And
do too, so I with you on some of that.
I feel like there's like layers to this, man.
Yeah,
And it's like you can get through a layer of the processing, but you're gonna find another layer. And I think there's some pain, some interior battle that will a piece of it will always be there. Like a piece of me will always miss my brother and be hurt that he's not here and that he can't experience this moment. Like a piece of me will always feel a certain way that my dad didn't get to see me do something good with my life. Right. He
right.
died when I was still a troublemaker and in court all the time. Right. So like I think there's a piece of that. And then I didn't get to have the conversation with my dad, like, thank you for teaching me what it was like to be a man, even though I did not like that way. Right. Thank you. Thank you for having my back still. Thanks for my brother having my back. Like, I'll never get to have those conversations. I've written letters, right, and burnt them. I have acted like the conversation out loud, right, and I talk to them often. I don't know if they listen or not, but I definitely talk to them often. They're probably like, "Mike, shut up." But so I don't know when you're going through that if there's really like the finish line. I think there comes a point when you realize like it was worth it though. I think that.
I love that explanation, and I'm like, I really agree with you. I don't agree with half the people that are self-proclaimed healers out there either. So this is why we connect a lot because I think we're on the same page on a lot of different areas. But then this brings up a great conversation because there's a lot of people that struggle, a lot of people that go through this, and there are layers. Like every time you feel like you've gained strength or healing, you find another layer. So then, how does Michael, in his balance of life, healing, movements, and stuff, how do you keep moving forward without letting these things control you?
One, everything I try to do in my life, I'm like, I make it worth it, right? I talk about worth it a lot. 'Cause like,
Right,
dude, if we do nothing or if we do everything, if we change the whole world or we don't even change our house, we're gonna have things in life, trials, tribulations. We're gonna lose people we love, right? One way or another. Like there is going to be heartbreak and heartache, right? And it's just, is it worth it? The chances of every year you're in business is a greater chance you'll be out of business. Like that's the odds, right? We know what game we're playing. So it's not, oh my God, how do I keep us in business? How do I keep it? That's the wrong thought process. How do I make that? I know at this point, at some point, this ends either by me closing my eyes and not open them or by it closing, right? Like I know this ends. Make it worth it. How is it going
Mhm.
to be worth it? That's one. The second thing is I'm really occupied with present, future. I don't go past much, right? I would say I have a gypsy soul. They say when you slow down, it all catches up to you,
Mhm.
right? That's the soul of a gypsy.
Right.
That's why gypsies are always on the move. I was like,
Mhm.
that's why I'm always on the move, man. It's if you slow down, it all catches up to you. So don't slow down. I'm very focused on my purpose. I'm very focused on my passion. I'm very focused on the ones I love. And if I maintain that moving towards loving them better, that would create better relationships, following my passion stronger and living in purpose longer, then I'm moving forward, movement, and it's
Right.
less time to look back to get stuck in those ruts of being like, poor me, why this happened, right? All those things where you're not going to find an answer good enough.
That's really wise. That's really great wisdom, especially when you said I'm occupied with the present and the future. I think and just increasing that love. And I think something I really appreciate about you is that when you say you love people, you generally do. Like, you don't find that
Not every
often, and I find that, like, refreshing. Like, in our space and in the entrepreneur space, it's refreshing when you have somebody who cares. Do you find that you just naturally care about people, or did you find that your experiences has helped you care about people more?
I would say a degree of both, right? I think we all as humans care some. It's always like when like people are like, I'll kill anyone thinks. Liar. I'm as big class clown as there is, but still I care what my mom thinks. I care what my daughter thinks. I care what my people think. I'll be a jerk off to people outside of our space, but if you're in my community, I want to hear it. Do you think I'm doing something and being insensitive or an ass clown or right? Like it, then let me know. Hope you can curse in this thing. I'll try not to anymore, but I hope you can. 'Cause you're going to do a lot of bleeping for that one sense. But to a degree, I think naturally we do, but also I think after you experience some things and like it's when you're in the arena, right? I always use the arena as a metaphor because men feel easier to relate to this. When you're in the arena and you know what the arena does, right? The butt whoopings you're going to get, like that G rated that thing, the butt whoopings you're going to get, the scars that are going to come from it, beat downs and all that stuff, like the tears, blood, the sweat, you know it. And when you see someone else in that arena, it's like respect, man. Because I know some, I don't know all of it. And I don't know the way you know it, but I know of it. I've experienced it too. So I think from that, it made me go respect. And you got someone that understands a little bit and I'll be there.
That's really good. So then what are in all of this, as you love, as you grow in love, as you gain if you have lead with courage, what
Really.
makes you fearful? What gives you that pause?
Two things. One, that came to the top of my mind. One, to make sure I'm not coming from a place of ego
Okay.
and especially like the bad ego, like the disregard, the betterment of everyone for
Mm.
something of yourself, right? Like that ego. I want to always check that. All right. And my biggest fear is letting down the people that love me and care about me and support me. That's my biggest fear.
So, I think that that's something that really stands out with you, and it's you're so focused on people. And again, it's a great refreshing whole thing because there's so many people that are self-focused, that are self. So then I start really asking the questions like, how how do I get to be like you? What are some things like what are some things you had to get rid of to be like fully committed to this? I know there's been some sacrifices along the way. So what are some things that you were like that had to go?
A lot of it was interior. We talked about ego in the last question, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of ego had to go. Like, I had to be okay with whatever they thought, whatever my look makes you think, right? I look like a homeless person now. So I have to be okay with that. And I think part of why I did it was so I would be like, that I would sit in it and be okay with it. Like why I stopped wearing three-piece suits. Because I was like, I don't want you to think like my outfit is the best thing about me. And also it reminds me, don't let your outfit be the best thing about you. So I think one of the biggest things was to drop was the ego because a lot of programming is protect yourself, fend for yourself, get yourself there, get to the result. And it's all about me.
Right.
I spent a lot of my life about that. And then I always use a Fred Hampton speech. He said, I climbed to the top of the mountain. I got to the castle at the top of the mountain. I was in that castle, hanging out in the castle with the people in the castle. I looked out the window and I saw my people in the valley, and their problems were in the valley.
Mm,
Their pressure was in the valley, and their stress was in the valley. Their fight was in the valley. And I was in the castle. And I had to leave that castle and go back down the mountain into the valley because that's where my people were. Because
mm,
sitting in the castle by yourself sucks. All right. So now we were going to climb this mountain together and kick that fake king out of their throne. Not because we don't like him, just because it's our throne. Right. And I always think of that speech when it comes to ego. And I'm like, what good is this winning alone?
that's powerful. What good is this winning alone? And I think that's really the definition of a true leader. Everybody wants to be the leader. Few people are a leader. And
Right.
you really can tell the old Chinese proverb that says, if you're walking in a direction, look behind you, nobody following you, you're not a leader. It's like people have to follow you. That guy has to jump in the trenches and pull the people with him. And I think that's amazing. And so then it really comes into this place of you're talking. I think this is something that really hit me in all the feels, man. Like it says, don't let your exterior be the best thing about you. And then you followed it up with the story and saying, hey, let's pull our people to go take care of the king, get that false
Right.
king in there.
Right.
And so, with that being said, was that something in that struggle? Was that something that you fought hard to learn? Because you had to unlearn a lot of things like the three-peat suits and the things, and then gain this humility of, I don't want to be this, I want to be this. So that's identity. So have you found it very difficult to forge an identity or actually shift your identity from what it was to what it is now?
Earlier on, 100%. During the process, it was much harder because I was much more in it. Now, I'm just me.
Mm,
But at the beginning, it's trying, of course, because there's times you want to be like, bro, come on, stop talking like that. All right. And now, hell, there's times I'm human, right? So there's times, hell, we were at the event together. There was times where someone would say something, I'd be like, what the, right? What's wrong with you? We don't do that here. So I'm human. I have those moments. I have to remember cause above all. So if I put myself above that because something I feel about something, then I put myself above the cause. And that
mm,
means I didn't love my people enough or care about my people enough not to force my will. And the big thing about leadership that people don't get to talk about enough and we don't bring up enough is that position of leaderships can be picked, but a leader, the people pick.
mhm,
All right. And it's like you said, if you're walking and you look behind you, no one's there. The people didn't pick you.
right,
All right. So then you have to be at the level and the caliber that the people pick.
mm,
That's your job. That's your inner work. Right. That's your responsibility. So my responsibility every day is to become the man my people pick. And it's not over now because some are like, yeah, Mike, let's go. That's not when it's ending.
right,
That's the beginning of you actually having to show up and be a leader. Because before when there's no one there, it's like you can do anything. No one's watching. Like no one cares. Right?
right,
Like when people care, that's when it's officially started, not when it's over. Every day I've a notepad on my side of my bed, man. It's be a better son, be a better father, be a better friend, be a better man, be a better leader. Those 5 things, that's my to-do list every day.
mm.
That's my job.
I love that, and I was actually what's interesting, I was going my next question is gonna be, like, what were some of those things that says, "These are the things I do to be a winner," and those 5 things doing every day, I'm like, "Wow, that kinda just hits it, man," like, those are how I be winners. There was one time not one time, one of my core values, and I tell this that whether it be with my kids, my wife, the people I lead, the people I coach, I just wanna be a leader worth following. That's been my mantra for 2 decades in leadership now. So I wanna be a leader worth following. And then I
Love
ask
that.
myself, "Would I follow me?" And I'm pretty critical, like, I'm pretty hard on myself. Would I follow? So, I appreciate, what you're saying. So, what's so interesting, and I'm probably gonna have to have you on another episode too, because I like to keep these episodes between like 30, 40 minutes, and we're
Mhm.
already at almost 30. And I'm like, man, this is such a good conversation. I'm like, wow.
Really
And
great.
so then I want to ask you this is you mentioned earlier, like with your brother and the story about like with my wife has suicidal tendencies. We almost lost her in summer, and you started a foundation.
Mhm.
Tell the audience a little bit more about that foundation. Also, how we can connect with it and support that foundation. I would like to be able to throw that in the show notes as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, brother. Look, the foundation is Joseph Patrick Faber Memorial Foundation. It's named on my brother. The foundation is to provide mental health services to the people for no charge. Everything we have psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors. We have EGALA. We have groups. EGALA is equine assistant therapy. We have groups. We have community days. We have clothes and food out throughout the year. You name it. We're trying to figure out every way we can to serve. We dress up as Santa for Christmas and go to children's hospitals, right? Whatever we can do to serve, make life better, make life easier for people.
Right.
It's funny. It started off as helping veterans, and it's evolved to where like we have 3 year olds to 90 year olds do all
Wow.
kinds of stuff. Right. And my mom did an amazing job. I won't take any credit for that. My mom did an amazing job building this and creating this. And then
Mhm.
it was very easy for me to step in and just be like, hey, look how cool it is. All right. Anything you want to do to support, we appreciate it. Spreading the word, asking that question, that's huge. Free mental health evals, like literally anything you're going through, we're here. I always say not so much my regular cell phone number, not some BS Google number, not the hot phone that I don't have. Like my cell phone number is public. Right,
Mm.
because I'm like, if you're going through something, you are not alone, and that's the point of the foundation is just so people know they have options, they have resources. So that's Joseph Patrick Faber Memorial Foundation.
And how do we reach that? Is there a website we can go to?
Yeah, you can go to jpfm mf.com. Right there, I have some of the resources that we do and ways to get a hold of us.
Awesome. So I'm definitely gonna put that in the show notes, and guys, we're
Thanks, brother.
gonna make sure that we as you listen to this, if this is something that moves in your heart, mental health, suicide prevention, really consider, prayerfully consider making donations in any which way you can, whether it be financial, get the word out, things like that, because this is an
Thank you.
incredible movement from the movement maker himself. And for you guys who have listened or have been listening to some of the episodes of the show, mental health is very near and dear to my heart. My wife will be on a further episode later in the future about where talk about our journeys and struggles with that. So as we land some planes here,
Mhm.
what is I like to ask, what is something you want to leave with the audience that says, hey, if you get anything I've said, anything that I want to give you, this would be the thing you need to take away.
I always go back to the simple, man, simple foundational piece. You are worth it. Make your life worth it. You are
That's
worth
powerful.
it. Your life worth it. Simple.
You're worth it. Make your life worth it. I what's funny that in the last episode, I just had a conversation with somebody and she actually said something very similar. She said, "You're worth it. Go all in." And I
Nice.
was so there's been a theme of a lot of this, and it's been very powerful. So, how do we connect with you, Michael? If people want to get part of it, maybe going to the Unleash You Now 2025 or
Hell
things like that. Don't worry, we're gonna have you back on and promote that at later episodes. Wow, because 2024 was amazing. I was there in
Thank you.
person, my wife and I, so we had a great time.
Appreciate it.
How do we get a hold of you, get connected with you so that way people can draw from your wisdom?
Awesome, brother. I appreciate that. Again, thanks you for having me on. You do a great job. I do a bunch of these, and you made this very smooth for me. So you made it very easy, at least for me. Hopefully, it was good, but you made it very easy. You can find me Michael Faber pretty much on anything or the Coach Mike Faber on. I'm on all social medias. You can find us under Unleash You Now as well. Someone there will be able to get you to me or tell you where to go or find it. I really just say try it. Go to an event and try it. See what it's like. I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy yourself and you'll see a whole new, like Aladdin. It's a whole new world.
I like that. It's like Aladdin. And to the listeners, for somebody who is a regular event attender, I love events, love attending them. This is probably one of my favorite events that I have ever attended. Movement Maker Live, Unleash You Now Live. Movement Maker 2024 was the first time I ever been at an event with Michael Faber, and it is probably one of my favorite events. Make sure 2025 is coming up. It depends upon when you hear this episode. We'll drop information later on. Michael, thank you so much to being part of this conversation. And as to the audience, just make sure you download the show notes because all the links that we talked about, all the things will be in there as well as a transcript of today's episode. Michael, thank you for being with me.
Thank you, brother. It's my pleasure.